So, what's up, dude?
What's up?
We're over here chilling, watching. we're over here. We're over here watching World War II in color on Netflix. We're on season 1, episode 12, Victory in Europe. I've been watching this for the past week or so, and it's really mind-blowing to me, just the state of not only certain countries, but the state of the world. The fact that the United States, Germany, the Soviet Union, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Lithuania, Romania, Estonia, Italy, they were Japan, they were all, and many more, mid-European, Eastern European countries, even I think France probably was involved as well. I mean, just the massive size of the effect of World War II and what it meant for the entire world and what it meant to be a human, at that point, and hoping that you weren't bombed and picking up rubble and stuff. And it's just really mind-blowing to me. I really would suggest everyone watch World War II in color on Netflix. Like I said, I'm on season 1, episode 12, Victory in Europe. But so far, what do you think, Scott?
Yes, I'm quite intrigued myself, considering, a lot of us, a lot of y'all probably, the listeners, definitely have grandparents that have been in World War II or know of somebody close to you, relative, well, that'd be probably the grandparent, what I'm saying, friends of, or anybody who's been in that war. The few that are still alive, God bless them, and yeah, like,
yeah, oh no, I was just saying, and for the listeners, I mean, we're using one condenser mic, so therefore we have to kind of pass it off, eventually. See, I got the Scarlett 2i2, so really I could have 2 microphones. I just haven't gotten there yet. But yeah, it's really wild to think that it seems so distant, but this is I was talking to my grandpa about this like last night over dinner, and like just how not only America, not only Europe, but the entire essentially world, even in parts of Africa, Italy was going, Mussolini was going into and establishing like a imperial, colonization regime or whatever, fascist regime. And it's just really crazy to think that with, that was 1954, 1950s, around that time. So, plus 50 years, that's 2000 plus 20. So 70 years ago, you have the entire world, almost, I would say 60% of the world, you have, fighting over stuff that the people who are dying and volunteering and dying, they don't even know necessarily, why they're doing what they're doing. They just have orders to follow. And it's really insane to think about that the entire world, dude, like an entire continent, Europe, and then just the oceans too, to have like I was telling my grandpa, it's almost World War II was like a war of innovation. It was like a war of technology, essentially, innovation of technology. Like who could come up with like so England came up with like code crackers to crack the Enigma code, which the Enigma code was something that the Nazis used. It was like essentially like a typewriter, but it had cogs in it. So like when you would type something in the average WASTA way, like the way that your keyboard's lined up, it would put different letter combinations with what you're typing. So an A might be an M, but an A might also be a C or a Z or a U based off of the cogs and the way that the 3 cogs were. And so then eventually I think Britain had an institute that I forget the name of it, but they basically had their best scientists and mathematicians looking at these codes and trying to figure out a way to decrypt it, and they eventually did. They decrypted the Enigma code, and it's just mind-blowing to me, the innovation of technology. I mean, even if you were to think about the submarines, the U-boats of Germany, like, that's 70 years ago, and these guys knew how to go like a mile under the ocean, like, what? And also have trajectory of their explosives to reach ally ships and stuff like that. It's just so insane. And then I also found out that the English eventually, not only did they decipher the Enigma code, but they eventually developed a radar, which allowed them to actually see what they called the Luftwaffe, the Luftwaffe. I forget what that means. It's like the lightning force or something like that. But the Luftwaffe was the air force of the Nazis in Germany, and it's really crazy to think that 70 years ago you had this technology of U-boats go underground, they were under the water. And then you had the Luftwaffe, but then you had England coming in with radar to be able to decipher, like, where these threats come from. And then you also have the Maginot Line in France. There was this long line of defense buried into the earth. There's so many things about World War II that are just... And also, before I pass off the mic, there are so many things that are just insane when you think about Hitler's obsession with the occult, and Himmler, and I forget the other guy's name, that was head of, I think, the Air Force, the Luftwaffe, but Himmler and, oh man, I forget, it's like a Unrich or Heinrich, something with like a Y sound, sort of, I think. But yeah, man, Hitler was obsessed with, like, say, what was going on in Antarctica, Inner Earth. He was upset. I mean, if you look at the swastika itself, it is something that was stolen from the Hindu, religion, essentially, that meant good luck, and but it's not drawn the same way. It's like the inversion of it, and yeah, it's just kind of crazy, man. If I was watching last night, like, these YouTube videos on the occult of Germany, the occult of, like, what Hitler was looking into in the occult, and I would suggest that you guys type it on YouTube, Germany occult, or Hitler occult, and look at some of the things that, like, for example, dowsing. It's a term that I didn't even know really of. I think I've heard it a couple times before, but what dowsing is like, I think it's like a stick with, like, a piece of iron on the end, or like a rock or something, and basically you hold the stick and it points you the direction of whatever. I think Native Americans use this for, like, to find water. They would hold, like, sticks, and it would point them magnetically.
Are you talking about the ones that are essentially made out of, like, either like they're basically a rod, and they're shaped like an L at the end, I believe, where you can hold them, and is that what you're talking about?
Well, I think so. Make sure also when you hold the mic that you put this right here, this little circle, put that right in front of your mouth. And like I said, look at that and make sure that it's green light more so than yellow light or red light. But yeah, the Nazis were interested in astrology or astronomy, or I think it was astrology, and, like, what horoscopes meant. Like, dude, it went as far as to say that, like, the Germans would fake horoscopes for the Americans or something like that, because they knew that it would affect the way that people thought. Now, that goes pretty deep, bro. That's like a psychology war on your mind, sort of, when you're. And then you got to think Operation Paperclip. once the World War II ended and the Nazis were dismembered in between the Soviet Union and America, which the Soviet Union now is Russia, the scientists were separated between the two in some sort of agreement. I forget the name of the pact, but, and that's what formed NASA. I mean, look up Operation Paperclip. So the entire World War II, for me watching this World War II in color is, and a couple other things. There's, let's see if I can find some of the other things that I was watching real quick. But I don't know. What are your thoughts based off? Okay, here we go. We got, where is it? Hitler's Circle of Evil. Conspiracies. That was another one that I was watching. America's Book of Secrets, but really World War II in color and Hitler's Circle of Evil are like, and greatest events of World War II in color. Yeah, man. I mean, you got a couple different things that are just like super baller that you could be watching on Netflix right now, and it really would just like, it will make you question what it is to be a human being when you see that not just Germany, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, France, Spain, or maybe not Spain, but like Lithuania, Romania, Estonia, Czechoslovakia, Russia, all these countries, Italy with Mussolini, they were all going through some sort of battle of oppression. It's mind-blowing. This is only 70 years ago, and it really makes you question and wonder like what it is to be human, and like what the fuck? The entire world was like struggling over power. It was like a power struggle. Like, we know what we need to fix. We know what we need to like get control of, and then that is pretty much it. It's the struggle of the power and stuff. But I don't know. Wasn't that shit kind of mind blowing to watch? Like with the Japanese and just like seeing them like suicide bomb like Pearl Harbor and stuff. Isn't that kind of like just like weird to watch this like in color, like World War II in colors?
Yeah, it's very fascinating how the kamikaze guys, the Japanese, they would take their ships straight into basically hellfire, and the last breath of their life is spent crashing a ship for their cause. And one thing else I found very very fascinating was how quickly Hitler was able to gain power. And as you were saying, the whole thing with all the countries trying to essentially take over and become like a superpower, and it it was a fight of ultimate will, and it's amazing how we've gone from back then being in such turmoil, and that was going on at the same time as the Great Depression, and we've gone from that to such great achievements of today. And then of course now in current times they got conflictions with with Black Lives Matter, Antifa, those people, my opinion, are very full of angst, and they basically they don't know how to get it out other than to find a cause, because everybody in life is looking for a purpose. We all are human at the core. We're flesh and bone, whether you believe in religion or not. And considering that factor, most definitely, we all want to have a purpose and have a reason to fight. And it's that, for me, it would be spiritual. It's that inner spirit that drives me on every day, gets me up every morning. And we all have it within us. And it's about taking the bull by the horn, so to speak, biting the bullet, and taking basically making the most of and the most of this life that you can, because we're only gonna be here for a short time, and while we're here on this earth, we need to, if we want to at least, the very least, make a lasting memory. I'm not talking about trying to make a page in the history books or trying to go down in glory and fame. I'm just talking about leaving a good lasting memory that will at the very least also teach future offspring, future generations down the road to better their civilization and their living as inhabitants of this earth that we all live within the confines of. Sorry, and with that all being said, to get back on track with the World War II, it's very fascinating. Like I was saying, that Hitler was very able to gain control so quickly, and then but there's some good aspects. What he did, mostly what he did, anybody would agree, 99.9% of what he did was bad, but he did some things like creating the Autobahn and a few other. I think, if I'm not mistaken, was it? No, I got that wrong. I'm not gonna say something and then misinform y'all. But I was thinking, but never mind. Scratch that. But it's way too many ums. So, with that being said, I'll pass the mic.
Well, the crazy thing is, and I don't know, I'm not super knowledgeable about the start of Adolf Hitler's impression in Germany, but I do know that he started out, essentially like hating the communists and trying to get rid of that, and like he went into this like bar or something, or this like get together of where like people were, and he thought that they were basically talking shit about the nation of Germany and they were communists, but then he found out that they weren't, and then he like spoke, like he was spying on them essentially. So but rather than him like speaking up, be like, oh, you guys are bullshit, he realized that they were kind of talking about the same thing that he was talking about, and so then while he was spying on them and taking notes, he like started to like very animated, like talk in a very animated way about, I guess, Germany and the threat of communism and all that stuff. And it is kind of nuts. Like, for example, they would used to kidnap children of Slovakia. That's another nation that was really heavily, or no, I'm sorry, well, Slovakia maybe, but what I meant to say is they would kidnap children from Poland. Poland was a nation that was heavily affected by World War II because the Poles and Russians hated each other for one, but the Germany, Poland, and Russia are pretty much in a sandwich. So, to the right of Germany is Poland, and to the left of the Soviet Union is Poland, and they would like, the Germans would like take, the Nazis would like take children, and if they looked Aryan, blonde hair, blue eyes, or whatever, they would Germanize them and basically abduct them from Germany and put them into like German houses because they felt that they were like, the pure race essentially, and that they still had hope. But of course, the Jews were killed and others were probably killed as well. But this shit's pretty nuts, man. I would highly recommend you guys looking into this. This is just like a short little, I guess, dialogue, banter of my experience with the Netflix show World War II in Color and just other World War II documentaries like Hitler's Circle of Evil or whatever the fuck the other one was called. Yeah, man, I'd recommend you guys look into it. It's, I talked to my grandpa a little bit about this, and it's just kind of revolutionary, mind-blowing. But I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Scott, we got some stuff we got to do, but...
Real quick, a fun fact, if you didn't know already, y'all, Hitler was actually Austrian, and he and if you want to really dive deep, as far as many casualties there were, also look into Joseph Stalin, because he actually was a lot worse. And with that being said, I'll pass it back to Mickey.
Yeah. That's the crazy thing about Stalin is that I have the utmost respect for the Russian and former Soviet people, the citizens. I have nothing but respect for the citizens. Of course, the government oligarchy or dictatorship or whatever you want to call it, it's not something that I respect, as much or if at all as to the citizen population. The Russian people helped us out tremendously as far as the Axis, I'm sorry, as far as the ally effort against the Axis, the Soviet Union helped us out tremendously. But unfortunately, Stalin had his own agenda that he was playing on, like a power struggle. But maybe we can touch in more about this shit later, guys. But I hope you guys have a good weekend and all that shit. And this is Fire Riot 666. Not satanic, but 666, baby. And TangyPuss. Ow, ow, ow.
Avida.
TangyPuss signing off. Alright, guys. Much love. Peace.